Goddesses, welcome to another edition of Permission to be Wealthy. Today, I've got Brandon Andrew, and we're going to have a fun conversation. First, let me tell you about Brandon. He has been in the sales arena for over 25 years, specifically medical device sales, and has worked with numerous companies and manufacturers in training salesmen and managers, while also greenfield. What's that about?
Yeah, so just starting a new clinic, right? So
Okay.
going in and from either the build out or take over or finding a new place to start a clinic at, getting it running and going. So Greenfields is kind of it's a new clinic.
Ooh, fun. All right. Over 40 clinics and taking them from startup to successfully producing the black. Here's what I loved about reading Brandon's bio. I love working with individuals that are looking to step up their game and reach their potential. We all invest our time and means into areas that we see fit. And for Brandon, that is investing in people. This is going to be a fun conversation. So, Brandon, I want to jump right in. And my very first question for you is, at this moment, again, not at other times in your life, just this moment sitting here with me, how do you define wealth? What does being wealthy mean to you today?
It's a great question. Today, I define wealth for me as recognizing the opportunities that I have right now. I think my dad, he always had a saying. He passed away, 4 years ago, but he always had a saying, Brandon, be grateful for the things you got and the things you don't have.
Wow.
And I always try and remember that, I think life's competitive. We grow up going to school and, sports teams or whatever it is where we're taught to compete, to be a fierce competitor.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. I'm not a real competitive person, so maybe that's why I didn't do well there. But I think the opportunity that's there, and to really, for me, in recognizing, am I wealthy? It doesn't have a lot to do with the financial component for me. It has more of me, am I utilizing the opportunities I have with my family and the people that I interact with on a daily basis? Am I learning from them and the opportunities that I get? And I guess then to say, well, are you wealthy? Are you at an area where you want to be at in life? I think we all define wealth obviously differently. Talking to the person who has a disability or a person who grew up in a place where they didn't have the opportunities.
Yeah.
Recognizing that you have those blessings in your life, and maybe that blessing is not having the challenge that somebody else has.
Yeah.
So I guess for me, just remembering to take the inventory of where I'm at and the blessings that I already have, and having that gratitude for the opportunities I have, like being here today.
Oh, wow. I gotta tell you. So, Brandon, one of the things that I love about the conversations that we have here is every guest adds a new layer, nuance, depth to our definition of wealth. And what you just contributed for us, thank you, thank you, thank you, on behalf of all the goddesses listening, is when we think of wealth, I think it's very out there. I'm aspiring to be wealthy, and it's something out there. And what you just gifted us was the awareness of, how am I wealthy right now with the opportunities that are here in this moment?
Right.
Right. And how can I see that in my own life and in my own way, as these are things that I have in this moment that's truly wealthy. So thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Brandon, from his bio, as you heard, loves investing in people. And I am fascinated to hear a little bit more, because we're having this conversation around wealth. And like I shared with you, it's like all these different aspects of being wealthy. How do you feel your passion for investing in people actually contributes to your feeling of wealth?
I think in life we invest in a lot of different things, stock, our company, our time into one area, research, whatever that is. I've really found for myself that investing my time and my energy into other people, whether it's sales professionals, I've worked with a lot of youth groups, But for me, investing my time into my family's like everything to me. Um, I have three amazing daughters and a son, and I live my life in a way where I hope I'm as good and doing as good as they think of me as. You've
Yeah, they
probably
like
heard,
put you on a
yeah,
pedestal and you're
yeah.
like, I really hope I am that.
Yeah, really,
Yeah.
there's that saying, are you as good of a person as your dog thinks you
Yeah.
are? Like, I'm like, yeah, I'm probably not near that.
But I
Um,
aspire to be.
yeah, 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 yeah. I want to be as good as my dog thinks I am. So, I think when we take those opportunities to invest our time in other people, obviously you get the satisfaction that comes back that you're serving and helping somebody else that may not bring anything right back to you immediately, but it's being able to walk away from that situation and knowing that, hey, I gave my time, I listened, and I'm trying to be present right here, right now for that other person. And then, those good feelings that you get later on. I'm all about those good feelings.
Yeah.
I try to have those in business whenever I can. Because at the end of the day, that wealth that you're talking about, and I love this topic, that wealth that you can feel it every day, but it's a matter of where your focus is at.
Can we just pause for a moment? That wealth that we're talking about, you want to feel it every day. That's so potent. We can have another 30-minute conversation on just that. Um, the thing that as I'm sitting here listening to you and just looking at you and having come from reading your bio, which is such a strong sales background, I'm like, there's nothing about you that exudes sales. You
Thank the
know?
Lord.
And yet you are obviously an incredibly successful sales professional. And one of the things that we talked about before we got started was I have a strong belief that we all came here with this gift called life to serve people, to serve others. And we actually came in with like, these are the people you're going to serve and you're going to change your lives, whether it's your family or people in business or your community. And there's this idea of selling. Sales is like selling somebody to do something they don't want to do, and you have to figure out the tactics to do it, right? And I truly believe that uh, being how sales contributes to being wealthy is that we're here to serve and we're here to let others know I am the answer to your prayer.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Whether I'm the answer to your prayer to the bag of chips you've been desiring all day long, right? Or this thing that can change your life. And so God rewards us for doing that. For saying, here, I'm here to serve you. I am the solution to your prayer. And the biggest reward outside of all the personal things and just the good humanity things is financial blessing. And so where I'm going with all of that is to ask you this idea around thealdism is an important aspect of doing business, but living. And so for you, how does it, what do you believe it takes to be successful at sales?
Mhm. That's a good question. Um, my dad and my mom, I grew up in a home where they were both entrepreneurs and
Mm.
salespeople. And so I kind of didn't really have much of a choice, I guess. And for all the reasons, that are out there that everybody has with sales, you're like, oh, another sales guy. And I didn't ever want that to be a part of me.
Yeah.
I like the sales aspect of like anybody, I guess, does of doing a deal, negotiate, whatever that is, there's that excitement, but
Yeah.
then it's over,
Yeah.
right? You're
Yeah.
off to the
Yeah.
next
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Um, for me, my dad always said, Brandon, if you want to be successful, you need to have three components that you need to live by. I was like, all right.
Get your pen and paper ready.
Yeah. And he said, you need to be persistent. There's going to be times when you don't want to get up and you don't want to go to work and you don't want to show up. You're not feeling it. And he's like, those are the times you need to be persistent. You need to go. The second was you need to be consistent. Don't try and change things up immediately. Stick with what you know is right and it'll work out, at the end. And then the third was you need to live your life and your business and what you deal with integrity. I think for me, those are all things I need to remind myself of and kind of reaffirm that, hey, okay, these are my guiding principles.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
going to work out,
Yeah,
because things don't always work out. And a
yeah,
lot of the time, especially if you're an entrepreneur and starting out doing that, it's a lot of work. It takes a ton of sacrifice. And a lot of times people don't financially make it. And does that mean you're a failure? No, I mean, we all fail a number of times until we learn the right way to do
yeah,
something. And all of that is experience. So, I guess kind of coming back to, if you're trying to be persistent, consistent, living your life with integrity, whether financially you're successful or not,
yeah,
you can walk away with your whole point of feeling the wealth of, I did my best. I tried to help the person that was in front of me at the time that I had it,
yeah,
and using that to go forward, being your audience of, you're dealing with females day in, day out,
yeah,
and those are who you're trying to reach and help. I think I've had the blessing of being married to the most amazing person. I got very fortunate. My wife is the person I owe so much of everything I have to, and my family. But, I think for women, and it's so bizarre we're having this conversation
you're
today.
safe here.
Yeah. I was just thinking the other day about, so many times I'll meet women either at work, church, wherever it is,
Yeah,
family,
yeah,
that wonder if they're making that impact, or should I be doing more? Should I be aspiring to do this and this? Am I doing enough as a mom? Moms are phenomenal. They have the role that is bringing another life into this world and then training them how to be happy, how to find that wealth that you're
yeah,
talking about.
yeah,
Whenever that is being undermined, or you think that your value isn't there, it's not too many individuals that I meet that are like, I want to impress my dad. It's, I want to live up to the person I think my mom always believed I was. You
wow.
guys are so influential. Honestly, if it was up to guys to have to, this is totally bashing on my sex, but of having to bear children,
Yeah,
humanity would come to a stop. Even
yeah,
have to sacrifice myself for 9 months, and my
yeah,
body's going to be affected the rest of my
yeah,
life.
you.
Yeah, yeah. We just won't have any more kids.
Hate
So, undermining that ever is kind of denying our whole realm of what we're trying to accomplish in humanity, which is our offspring, of helping them to recognize that going the extra mile, doing all of those things that a mom does day in, day out, selflessly, that's where it all starts out, is in the home, I think, and learning that. And I know for me, getting that from my mom, who was always, my biggest cheerleader growing up, believing in me when I didn't,
Yeah,
um, to then having my dad, coming in and enforcing that work ethic and saying, Brandon, um, you need to give world-class service to every person you come in contact with, or you probably don't deserve their business. And,
wow.
you never know, for him being a sales guy, you never know where the money's coming from. Don't judge a book by its cover,
Yeah,
all of those things that we
yeah,
hear. But, and my dad coming in from his day and age of, it was all about service. Well, things haven't changed.
yeah, right.
We're in a day and a time where we're dealing with the internet and taking a pill to get rid of a problem immediately. And we forget that there's the human component, that, we may have robots coming, AI, all this stuff that's coming on, but they can't connect with people.
Yeah,
I heard, it was a religious speaker I was listening to on my way here today. And he said, a lot of times people will forget what you said, but they won't forget how you
how
made
you
them
made
feel.
them feel.
Yeah. And I love that. I was like,
Yeah,
gosh, I needed to hear that today.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway, I'm like going off here.
No, this is so good. This is so good. And what's interesting is, I literally, I was having a conversation with someone that's a friend and also on my team last night about the role of his mom in his life, and how that's played into all, including his business, his marriage, his fatherhood, like everything else. And then we're here talking about this right now. I find it fascinating. It's like this is a God wink moment for me. And I'm not sure what the question is that I want to ask you about it, but just know I do. So we might get there. I might go there a little bit further, but I love what you're sharing about, being successful in sales, it's persistent, being consistent and staying in integrity. And I think as someone who people would say, I'm in sales, right? In my business, I'm selling. I have found that to be true. And I'm so grateful you brought up other women because I think the best sales pitch I give is to my son or my daughter,
Right?
right?
Yeah.
It truly is. Like every day to be a good person, get good grades, do this, do that. Like I'm constantly selling to them
Yeah.
and enrolling them in behaviors that will advance their life. And for a lot of women, for some reason, we have made an agreement that selling is hard, that we're not naturally good at it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like it's easier for men. And I'm grateful that you brought it down to these 3 points, but is there anything else that you could add to that for women who are listening who really feel like they're struggling with selling?
Gosh, you and your questions, these are so good today.
And it's just like, just the humanity of it, like taking it out of selling in a class or a book or whatever, and just bringing it down to, like you even said, people will always remember how you make them feel. And isn't that what,
Right.
yeah.
That's what it's all about. I would say, I think that women probably have a greater opportunity than men do to be more effective sales people.
Can you pause for a moment? Women have a greater opportunity to be more effective than men, potentially, at sales. Just make sure you heard that.
And the reason I say that is going back to what, you just said, women have a greater capacity to be more empathetic and selfless, caring, all of those things that it takes to be, a mom. And when it comes down to it and in the point of the sale, it's whatever it is, whether you're a dentist and you're trying to get these people that you really need to clean your teeth,
Yeah.
or whatever it
Yeah.
is, you're trying to connect with them on a level that helps them get and recognize where they are and help them get to the point or the next transaction or whatever that is to benefit their life. And that's what you're doing every day as a mom,
Yeah.
or as a female, whatever.
Yeah.
And not saying that men aren't capable of doing that, but to say that, a male or female is going to be better than the other because, you look at our roles in life, clearly the higher role or capacity to make a difference in life is done through females, not through males, as far as I'm concerned, because of what you're doing every day with your kids. And they're the ones that go out and shape the future and do all of that stuff, right? And
Yeah.
so males, our role is to serve and protect and to support our wives or partners, whatever, in a way where they can fulfill the full measure of their creation, I guess,
Yeah.
kind of coming back to that. So I would say, if you're a female, don't underestimate your ability and your potential. You already have it in spades. You just need to refocus on that.
Yeah. It's interesting. Another thing that my husband and I talk about is the difference between he'll always say, I wish more women understood how powerful you are. The problem is you define power in a very masculine way and you think it's worse and, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
he
Yeah.
goes, you have power in influence.
Yep.
And that's really power.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? That's the real power right there. So thank you for affirming us. You are such an evolved man. I'm happy for your wife. And you can go home and tell her another woman's day today. She got a good one. And
She gave me a gold star.
yes.
I'm a good boy.
All right. So one of the last questions I have for you is I read in your bio that you're really passionate about helping people identify their next level of potential. How can we, as we're on this journey, obviously, again, one of my strong beliefs is that we're here to live our lives to the fullest, right? So that when our time comes, we hear good and faithful servant, well done. And so you get to but you're busy in life every day. And how do you stop, or what is the process for identifying for yourself? It's time for my next level. How can we figure that out?
It's easy for me. For me, it's my relationship with my Heavenly Father.
Mm.
I think regardless of what religion you believe in, you're Christian, you're whatever, you have this individual or person who you want to emulate, you want to become like, and you want to do that because they're a fantastic being.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're compassionate, they're giving, they're about serving other people. When you try and emulate those qualities, clearly you're going to feel better about yourself.
Yeah.
That gratification that comes from helping someone else, you can help yourself all day long, but when you help somebody else, obviously that's when you feel good, right? And
Yeah.
so, in reaching that potential for me, and I firmly believe for anybody else, you need to get recentered. You need to get your why out there of why do I want to do this? Who do I want to be? Who, whether it's a life coach or whoever that person is going to be, find that person that influences you, write it down, manifest it through looking at it frequently. I had, an opportunity to volunteer and serve a mission when I was a kid, from
Mhm.
like 20 to 22. And my president over my mission, he was known for a lot of things. He was a general surgeon, retired. Um, but he's like, Brandon, this is when I was first starting as a missionary. He said, Brandon, you're a fish in a fishbowl. You're being watched constantly.
Wow.
And the things that you do reflect not just you, but everybody else around you and what you believe in your faith is. And he's like, so always try and present yourself in a way that, you're going to uplift somebody else and they're not going to look at you and find an excuse to not get into it or not do these
Right.
things. Right. And
Right.
so I think at the end of the day, my advice would be to get centered. Let God be a part of your journey and what you're doing. And if you don't have that or you feel undeserving because I have or haven't done that, for me, I'm Christian and I take to heart the words that he said. I came to help the sinners. He's the physician for all of us in our heart and spiritually, and get recentered there, because as you come to recognize who you are, why you're here and what
Yeah.
your purpose is, and that you have somebody else who's rooting for you and recognizes your infinite potential far greater than you do. Um, when you have somebody like that in your corner, you have a greater purpose, you have more fulfillment, and the wealth that we're talking about and building that comes inside, and you don't need to look for it from anybody else, you know?
Oh, wow, Brandon, I love it. And you know what? I'll end with what we started with, right? It's I see and I'm looking at how we can personify this incredible infinite being that is God into a person and go, am I at my full potential? Am I living at am I ready for my next level? Right. And it's like you said, if I could be what my kids see me as, or my wife or my dog, it's like I can imagine God, like what does God see me as being and being
Right.
capable of? And then I get to ask myself the question of, and where am I in fulfilling that, and what I'm capable of. It's been
Yeah.
amazing. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you for having me. It's
All
been
right.
great.
Yeah.